It's good today. Thank you all for being here, and I'm calling to order the Nashville MTA Board meeting. First on our agenda, of course, is our call to order, and then roll call. Jessica Dobbin. Aaron Thompson.
Present.
Catherine Hayes Sasser.
Present.
Janet Miller, our Vice Chair.
Present.
And Gail Carr-Williams is present. Before we go into our agenda, I just want to talk about some of the issues that happened with us in the past week. As you know, many of you know, you've heard on the news that we had 2 safety incidences that have really rocked our community. And, you know, our drivers are our heart and our soul, and we honor them and we respect them. And when harm is put upon them, it hurts not only them but us. Our heart goes out to our driver that was assaulted this week. And I have asked Steve to sort of share with us some things about safety and where we are with safety. But do know that we take safety issues extremely seriously. We take them to our heart and we take them to our soul. And the biggest thing that we want to always have happen here at MTA We Go is safety, and safety is always first. So Steve, if you don't mind sharing some of the standards of safety that we have here. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and appreciate the opportunity to update the board, both on the incidents that happened over the past week, as well as some of the measures we've taken historically and what's emerging to maximize security and safety on our system. In light of 2 very troubling incidents, completely unrelated, but because they happened in very close proximity to each other, certainly there's heightened awareness about all this. And one of the things I'd like to do first is to acknowledge our Chief Safety and Security Officer, Nick Oldham, who's led our agency through this process, including the initial response to both incidents, as well as follow-up activities with employee meetings and debriefings, and certainly the excellent cooperation we have with Metro Nashville Police and our security contractor. First of all, to recap the incidents, and I had emailed out to the board a couple days ago, kind of a lengthy update on a lot of trends and information, so this is going to be a much shorter version of that. But first of all, at approximately noon this past Monday, May 20th, 2024, female passenger boarded the Route 56 Gallatin Pike bus near the intersection of Broadmoor and Gallatin. She boarded the bus in what appeared to be an agitated state, speaking loudly on her cell phone. The passenger and the bus operator exchanged a few words upon her entry, but the exchange did not appear to be in any way hostile, and the bus operator took no actions that could be considered provocative. The passenger began yelling at the bus operator, pulled out a knife, and reached around the operator's protective barrier and began to assault her with the knife, inflicting cuts on her hands and arms. Somehow, the bus operator managed to secure the vehicle and alert radio control via the onboard emergency alert system. Emergency Medical Services, Metro Nashville Police, and WeGo's Operations and Security Safety Supervision Team was on the scene quickly. First responders were there within 7 minutes, and our supervisory staff was there within 15 minutes. Metro Nashville Police quickly identified the assailant and arrested her. The bus operator was transported to the hospital where she was treated for her wounds and released on the same day. Following the incident, Nick and Andy Burke, our Chief Operating Officer, held an employee meeting at our Nestor Operations facility that was well attended by between 40 and 50 of our operators to convey information about the incident and listen to their concerns, and also offer the services of our agency's Critical Incident Support Services Unit, which is part of our overall employee assistance program to anybody who's been affected by this. Of course, this incident followed another completely unrelated security incident on Thursday, May 16, when 2 men engaged in an argument on the steps outside the Elizabeth Duff Transit Center at WeGo Central, with the argument resulting in one man shooting the other. No uninvolved parties were injured in this incident. Within 2 minutes, our on-site security team and Metro Police staff responded to the incident, and police officers quickly apprehended the gunman, and the gunshot victim was transported to the hospital. Proximity and time of the 2 extremely serious and disturbing incidents is highly unusual and not at all reflective of the overall safety or security of our system, which carries approximately 30,000 riders each day, or the Elizabeth Duff Transit Center facility, which serves approximately 15,000 people each day, bus riders, folks who park there, folks who use the businesses there, what have you. With that said, the two unrelated incidents certainly raised the level of public awareness of issues surrounding the safety of public transportation and in what is becoming a major city. So I'd like to take a moment just to quickly review some of our ongoing trends and evolving practices when it comes to system security. First of all, the overall incidents of crime and security are extremely rare on our system. Over the past year, during which almost 10 million rides were taken on WeGo Public Transit and over 700,000 hours of service operated, approximately 55 arrests were made on the system and 24 operator security incidents occurred. Operator security incidents include both physical assaults and verbal threats. Now, many of the arrests that take place on the system tend to be for outstanding warrants and aren't necessarily related to a specific incident or crime that occurred on the system. Second, to promote a secure environment, we count on the active engagement of our riders and employees in the national If You See Something, Say Something campaign. And we also rely on our extremely positive working relationship with the Metro Nashville Police Department and our contracted security firm, Allied Universal. Through both our contracted police services and the active relationships that we have with various precinct commanders in our heaviest service areas, we've always experienced a rapid and comprehensive response by MNPD and other first responders. In the case of these two incidents, first responders were on the scene at the remote service location within 7 minutes of first notification. And in the incident at WeGo Central, police and security were on scene within 2 minutes. There is a security presence at WeGo Central 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Overall, our spending on system security has doubled over the past 7 years, and in the budget that we'll present to you next month for consideration for fiscal year 2025, we will propose to add another 42% to those line items, largely accompanying the opening of the Dr. Ernest Rip Patton Jr. North Nashville Transit Center. Our human security presence is supported with 283 real-time digital video surveillance cameras at our 4 primary operating facilities, monitored in real time through a central security center. In addition, every vehicle in our fleet is equipped with anywhere from 3 to 16 cameras, depending on the size of the bus, that record all events that take place on the bus. In 2020, with the onset of the pandemic, we began to install protective shields in our operator compartments to protect employees from the spread of the virus, but also as a deterrent from hostility toward operators. In the ensuing years, the design of these devices has evolved with the active engagement of our Employee Safety Committee. The same committee also recommended and developed a program of de-escalation training that all of our operators take to provide them the tools to help diffuse potentially hostile engagements. And then finally, last year, we engaged the services of Marine Tiger Technologies, a nationally recognized expert in public transportation security, to examine all of our security practices and make recommendations with respect to security staff deployment, procedures, and the appropriate use of technology. This work is ongoing, and we anticipate their recommendations in the coming months. And by the way, this project's being done in close collaboration with Chief Drake and Metro Nashville Police Department, who were actively engaged in helping us develop the scope for the project, selecting the vendor, and now active through their engagement. To reiterate what Chair Carl Williams said, any security incident or threat against our customers or employees is unacceptable, and we'll continue to work with all of our partners to enhance our practices in this regard. However, as disturbing as the two incidences were, both on their own and the fact that they occurred in close time proximity, they are an anomaly, and our system remains extremely safe. So I'm happy to entertain any questions from the board. I'm sure if there are any specific questions that Nick can address, we can also do that.
One quick question. I know in an update we got shortly after the incidents, we were told that the operator was recovering physically and well. I just wanted to check to make sure that that is still the case.
She was released on the same day, so obviously the wounds were serious, but certainly not life-threatening.
Okay.
That's clearly an incident that unfortunately will be with her for probably the rest of her life from an emotional standpoint.
Okay.
And again, kudos to Nick on on going directly to the hospital and working with her to expedite things like workers' comp process and making sure that she knew that the resources of the agency were available.
Yeah, and I am confident we're doing all we can for her, and I would encourage us to continue to do that. I appreciate the quick response, both from the Metro Police and from our own security officers. And I hope our operator will know that she's very much in our thoughts and prayers, and that we are incredibly sorry that she was injured in this way while doing nothing more than her job.
I have a question, which is, I know that the report that the Marine Tiger Group is doing, tell us about the timing for the delivery of that, and I don't know if there's a way to accelerate or expedite findings, but I think we would all like to be updated on that.
Yeah. I think a lot of the procedural things, and Nick, you might want to jump in on some of the specifics. There obviously, as they find procedural things for us to adapt, we're incorporating those. Some of the larger issues obviously become policy issues. I know one of the things I've talked about, and it has come up in several settings so far, is relationship with MMPD is terrific. Is there a need to develop a transit policing unit, kind of in the same fashion that there are airport police or park police, and, with that specialty? And that's been a conversation that Chief Drake's been receptive to. But obviously that hinges on, being able to fund those applications. And there is money set aside in the Choose How You Move initiative, programmatic initiative, for additional security enhancements. But I guess the direct answer to your question, Janet, would be probably late summer, Nick?
Yep.
For a final set of recommendations.
One more question. I know we're waiting for the Marine Tiger, maybe I have the name wrong, report, but I assume we've done sort of a post-incident review on both of these to the extent there are any immediate lessons we can learn and implement to prevent any further incidents. We're not waiting for the report for that. Okay.
Right. And I would say, and again, I'll have Nick jump in, if he has anything to add, but the performance of, I'll talk specifically about Monday's incident, the performance of the operator, the performance of radio control, and everyone who responded was pretty much right to plan. Frankly, I think we're all kind of marveling how she was able to, in that situation, remain calm enough to secure the vehicle, take care of her passengers, and initiate the emergency call. So frankly, it's pretty miraculous.
I think you answered the question I was going to ask, which were all the protocols followed in both incidents, and it sounds like they were.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say that, again, our hearts go out to the operator and her family, and thank you to Nick for running a tight ship and having your team implement protocol, and I do look forward to the Marine Tiger report. Thank you.
Nick, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just echo the words of Steve in that we have been in constant communication with Marine Tiger. Actually had a few emails back and forth with Project Lead just to see if we could expedite some of the deliverables. But again, to Steve's point, we're deeply impacted by this and want the operator to know how saddened we are about it, but that we're taking it very, very seriously. We're deeply impacted too by her professionalism in the response, and it's just, as Steve said, it's miraculous that she was able to perform in that way, and so we're thankful for that. And also, we're just doing a lot of quick looks into the areas that, if there are gaps, that we can fill those gaps. So we're not waiting for the report. We're actively seeking any kind of ways that we can improve. So.
Hey, Gail, I do have one other thing. I think it's great that the board gets all the details very quickly and all, but I think it's also going to be really important that the general public, as much as we can share with the general public, because there's 6 of us, and there's hundreds of thousands of the general public. So whatever we can do to make it known anytime one of these incidents happens, I think we need our customers to be aware that we're not sitting by and just sitting there. So great, thank you.
I appreciate that very much, Jan, and I appreciate all of our board members having the heart to come in and have this discussion and be willing from going forward to work diligently and hard and intentionally on this issue to make us safer, make us better. And again, our hearts do go out to the operator, and I hope, Nick, you will share with her when you speak to her again how much we care and how much we wish her well, and that we are here in the event that she needs anything, or other drivers who might need something. I'm certain that other drivers were indeed shocked and dismayed and fearful as a result of this, but that this is a system that supports them. So thank you for that. Steve, thank you very much for pulling together this report and being able to share with us. And Janet, I couldn't agree with you more that our public needs to know that they are safe and that we work hard as an agency for safety for all. So thank you all very much for the response. And we're going to keep working on it. We're going to be intentional. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to be about it. So I just thank everybody today. And again, our hearts out to all of our drivers, in particular, this operator. So thank you very much. With that, are there any other questions or comments as it relates to this subject? Okay, hearing none. The next thing on our agenda is the approval of the April 18th MTA board minutes. If I can have a motion for
Motion to approve.
Second, Janet.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any additions, deletions, or comments as it relates to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have minutes. Next on our agenda are public comments. And we have several public comments, so I will remind those giving public comments that you have 2 minutes and a sound will go off once the 2 minutes has completed. And today, because we have so many, we will have someone come around with a mic. So when I say your name, if you raise your hand, I will have someone meet you with the microphone so you can give the comments from your seats today, if that's helpful. The first person we have is James Brown. Mr. Brown, if you could raise your hand. Thank you.
Hey, James and Rob. There you go. Hey, rest of the mic just below. It's
good to sit down, I guess.
Oh, yeah, you can sit down.
All right, make it easier. I just want to thank the MTA board, WEGO staff, Steve Bland, for passing the new RFP contract that's going to go into effect on July 1st for people with disabilities, specifically speaking today about the on-demand contract. Uber is going to be one of those vendors that has applied and been approved. And in Denver, I've spoken to a lot of my friends who are blind around the country, and specifically in Denver, they say that this program for them has been life-changing. For them to be able, as a person with a disability, to pick up the phone and within 5 or 10 minutes have a ride, and to be able to go somewhere and not be sort of attached and chained down to certain parameters has been so life-changing for them. Single mothers have just told me how impressed they are with the service. But one thing that I think that was approved that we are asking as a disabled community to change is this. So I'm the past chair of the Mayor's Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities. I also serve on APAC, Access Ride Policy Advisory Committee. And we're asking, currently on the current contract, you can have 80 on-demand trips per month. Well, in this new contract, that's only going to be 40 trips per month. So we have WEGO telling us they want to expand the service. They want to, be able to do it on weekends. They want to expand the time parameters, but they're actually moving the trips from 80 to 40 per month. And let me give you an example. So if I work 5 days a week, that's 2 trips, for every day. In a month, that's 40 trips. So all my trips would be taken up just going to work at that point. And we're reducing the trips by essentially 100% or 50%, however you want to look at that. And so we're really asking that you all reevaluate the recommendation that came down from the WeGo staff. I know why those recommendations were made. It was said that the 5 particular companies that they looked at only did 40 trips, that a lot of people in Nashville weren't taking the 80 trips that were available, but since you are planning on expanding the services, we think that at least 60 trips. So if you want to cut it down from 80 to 60, that would be great. But please don't cut it down to 40. That would limit us so much. And when people say in other cities around the country that this is life-changing, it would somewhat limit that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And for the, Monica, if you could tell me, is there a buzzer that goes off at the 2 minutes? If not, I'll hopefully not rudely interrupt you all, but I will let you all know when your 2 minutes is up. I have to be, well, I was too waiting a little bit for the buzzer, and I thought the buzzer would be my friend today, so I had to be my own friend, and I had to say it, so I hope you all don't see me as being rude, but really staying within our policy of 2 minutes, so I apologize for that. So next person, I'll let you know when you're at 2, okay? I guess I got to call the next person. Roger Womack, if you could raise your hand, Mr. Womack. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Womack.
All right, thank you to the board. I'm speaking also on the demand issue of reducing it from 80 to 40. Many people use this ride service. It's on demand. It's a choice. It's a $7 thing where if you cut it down, they're going to have to use the regular own choice thing. It's going to cost WeGo more money. It's going to disenfranchise some of these people that use the service to go to work, that want to ride by themselves, get to work on time, and know who that their drivers possibly are going to be. I don't think that cutting the service is helping WeGo at all. I think that this is a good service. People have used it. I know that the amount of use is down in the last 3 months, according to what we were told. This has never came up at a APEC meeting. It's never been put out at a public meeting. I hope that you will not change it and disenfranchise these folks that use the service. We need the service. We use the service. We want it to stay as it is. Please don't change it at all. If you have any questions and you want to put it out for public meetings or for the APEC committee, which didn't find out about this till this last weekend, either table it or leave it as it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. Next, I have Patricia Valadorez. Did I pronounce that wrong?
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry. I'm just sort of thought I did, but can you correct it for me, please?
Depends. Where you go? Okay. If you want to pronounce it in Spanish, you can say Valladares with the double L, like a Y, or Valladares, just the one L.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I apologize.
You're welcome. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm used to that. Well, thank you for letting us be here. My name is Patricia Valladares, and I am the vice chair of APAC and a consumer. And as some already, James and Roger have explained to you the concern that we had about trying to cut down on this rights that we can have on the on-demand services. It has been very upsetting for all of us because, it seems like APAC, that we are supposed to be an advisory and represent all people with disabilities and the senior citizens also that get the services in the county of Davidson are not being taken in consideration. Things have been done without talking to us. We find out about things until they are done. And so I asked yesterday when we had our APAC meeting and we learned about this, he said, are we being ignored? We are not taken as a people, as individuals in what we are. We represent all disabilities in the Davidson County. And, in our thoughts, our experiences that we have had with the transportation services, with Access Ride and the on-demand should be taken in consideration and not simply ignored. This is not the first time that this happened, and unfortunately, in the month of March, I was presented to this board the list of providers that were accepted to do the overflow services for Access Ride. APAC was not taking in consideration to any of the providers that, that were chosen. We haven't even met them. We don't know what they're going to offer, but the ones that we already but the only ones that we know already that we have, like On Demand in Music City.
Oh, someone put a timer on for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Miss Dupree, is it Kristen Dupree? Crystalline. You can either come to the mic or he's bringing it over to you.
Thank you. As I am a regular bike rider and a regular user of the Metro Nashville transit system, and I applaud our mayor's Choose How You Move plan, and I want to advocate for it. However, my challenge is I've been left at the bus stop 3 times. 2 times in April, back-to-back days with my bike, and a 3rd time at the beginning of this month. And all 3 times I did report the incidents, and twice, the 2 April incidents, they were followed up with customer service email, and I was told that the matter would be addressed. Again, it happened a 3rd time in May, and I did report it. However, there was no follow-up. And so that's what brings me here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ryan Smith.
Thank you. So we're going to get a little redundant here. I want to echo the comments. First of all, I want to thank the board for allowing us this forum, this public forum, to come out and speak and give our thoughts. I want to echo those comments made by James and by Roger with consideration to the slashing of the number of rides for the on-demand service for Access Ride. As James said, if we cut it to 40 rides a month, that's barely enough for a person to go to and from work every day. If we expand the service to weekends, it's going to limit options, and we're not taking into account, different doctor's appointments and things of that nature that may arise. It's been a life changer for me to have the on-demand services. I've used Access Ride many years, but the on-demand service has been a huge benefit to me. We're asking you to reconsider this cut in the number of rides. I think you'll also find that actually you'll save money in the long run. You'll have you'll have less no-shows. You'll have less. Your expenses will be lower in driver costs and vehicle maintenance when you consider all the times that vehicles go and sit and wait on someone to potentially no show. And if we eliminate the on-demand rides, it's going to increase. You're going to have an influx of drivers scheduling rides with Access Ride, and it's actually going to, we're going to go backwards instead of continuing to move forward. So that's all I have, and I thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next, I have Darius Knight.
Thank you. Sorry you had to walk far. Good afternoon, board.
Good afternoon.
My comments today were not the original comments that I had planned. I spoke to this board last month about the safety, and I addressed that when we were out at Metro Center because I felt like our CEO and this board needed to be safe, and did not anticipate what happened last Thursday or this Monday to happen. I have family members still at this agency, so I'm more ticked off than anyone in this room because of the simple fact that I am an advocate. I have literally been at this since 2006. I didn't just start this. I am very frustrated. I am not happy. But Ms. Miller, I duly appreciate you bringing up the fact that the customers need to know what's going on. That is very important. We are in a year that our mayor is trying to do everything he can to get us the great transit we need for Nashville. Can we agree on that? Because this city is not where its peer cities are. So in order to do this, this staff, this board are going to have to work together with its community groups. All of us together as one. But that security company that you all have has to go. Because I have been telling you all this since 2016. Many of you board members are not aware of this because you're new. But I told the staff this in 2022 to do something. I was threatened in 2022 by a bus operator and then threatened again in 2023 of last year and was told I would be run over by the bus from that operator. So it's happening in both ways. It's not just the customer, but also the operator. But please get more cameras down at Central, please. And one more thing before I remove this from here. Can you all please listen to your staff at Central, because I am highly concerned. They see things that many of your customers do not. And some of them are afraid. When that town hall meeting was had this week, they didn't even speak up and tell you all the truth. They have been coming to me and they're asking me to do it because they're afraid that they may lose their job if they say the wrong thing. And that is all I have to say to you all. And I appreciate you all giving me the time to say what I needed to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Knight. Next, I have Jeremy Wooten.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
How are you all? I wanted to talk a little bit about special event service. I know we've started moving this way, and I think one of the things that separates good transit cities from great transit cities is serving special events not just as a one-off thing, but integrating that into the network, and we've finally started to do that. As I look at like Nashville SC game service, if you can convince someone to get on the 52 and ride to a game, that person now also knows how to get on the 52 to ride to downtown, to Broadway, to a Predators game, to our most transit-oriented music venue in the Music City, the Tennessee Performing Arts Center. They know how to use that. And when I look at the East Bank, the change we've made this last month to finally start running buses through the East Bank instead of detouring it away is a huge change. But when I look at it, it's not just where the buses go, but it's do people know about it? It's is there a huge, big flag and a tent at that stop at the East Bank that is closer than you can park to the Titan Stadium to advertise that? I went by on my bike during the Morgan Waller concert and watched as that Woodland Street Bridge had been converted to exclusively bus travel on one side and then a bunch of pedicabs on the other side. And that alternative transportation, which gets you way closer than anyone can get in their personal car. So we need to look at how do we integrate that into the system, but also how do we supplement it. If we do have even 1,000 people going to a Nashville SC game on a bus, 20-minute headways on the 52 is not going to give us that capacity. So how do we grow that? How do we market it? How do we get more people to do it? So then they do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when they're going to work as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. I have two other people that I do not have cards for. First one is Emily Grooms. He can bring the mic if you like, or you can go to the mic, whichever.
Thank you, Lord. I've got a real loud mouth, so I probably can do without. I, in fact, moved back to the great state that I was born in from Texas. I have visual impairment and hearing. I moved to be the companion of my brother who has dementia. We have used on demand, and we're very, very happy. However, I've always been an advocate. I took care of people for 15 years who had dementia. I advocate for people being isolated. If they cannot get services because they've used all their rides, then they may be isolated. Isolation leads to not only mental but physical, but also, as you all are aware, people died from dementia when they were isolated. So we don't want people to do that. Also, I advocate for the drivers. This is my favorite driver, and she may not have a job at the end of June. Okay, I advocate for all of the individuals who work. They, as we've heard from all of our individuals in NFB and others, I advocate for the economy of Davidson County and other areas because we use all of these services. Drivers use the services. I use the services of the grocery store, doctors, and so forth. So I'm just asking you, please take care of us. Don't isolate us. Do not cut our rides such that we will not be able to go out and be citizens like everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grooms. Next, I have Annette Keel.
Thank you so much. As she said, I am a driver. I have driven for USERV for 2.5 years. I love my job, and I'd like to keep driving. Sorry. So I understand that Uber has it, and they have a program called Uber Assist. I have not been able to find any information out about this. I called Uber's corporate office, and they sent me a email about a company that trains drivers. That company said they haven't worked with Uber since 2018. I've gone online for the Uber Assist. I'm already an Uber driver. I can be. I haven't driven. I don't want to drive. I want to drive the people I drive, the people that need the help, not just the drunks and not just the whoever else. I want to help people. So I went on and Uber Assist, I put in I wanted to work in Nashville. It said we do not have Uber Assist in the Nashville area. So I have been unable to get any answers about how this is going to work, how I can drive for the program and keep helping and driving the people that I drive. So if anybody has a contact name or a number where I can get a hold of somebody, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I do also have an email that the board received from Natasha Wilkins. I would ask each of you to take the time to read her public comments, and I would ask that these written comments be placed into the minutes for this meeting. I do not have any further names or requests for public comments. However, if there is someone else here that wishes to make a public comment that has not submitted their name, would you just raise your hand? There is one more hand in the back. And could you state your name when he brings the mic to you? He's almost to you.
This is Robert right here.
Hi.
Here's the mic.
Hi. I'm Jana Jackson, and I just wanted to echo some of the comments that have been made about the Uber program. First of all, I am so excited about this, and I wanted to just, as someone who has used Uber a lot over the years, just to echo the fact that it is truly a game changer. I'm a busy woman. And I feel like I am sometimes juggling about 10 things at once. And it is a pleasure being able to, when you know you're running late and you were supposed to be in a meeting or you're supposed to be in a meeting in 10 minutes and you're 5 minutes away, and to know that you don't have to wait, that the Uber is going to get you there on time. And that has happened to me many times. And so I'm so thankful that we have this program. And I do want to encourage you, please do not cut the rides down to 40. We're going to use those up quickly in a month. So please keep those as many as we can, as you can. And just wanted to testify that this is going to be a game changer for folks like me.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment? I see another hand up. Well, I think you've already made one. Is that correct? I'm sorry, I didn't. Oh, you want me to read the comments to the public? Is that? Okay. I'm happy to. These are the comments of Natasha Wilkins. I would like to provide this written statement in my absence to appeal to the MTA board on behalf of the ridership who utilizes the WeGo Access service. As a visually impaired person who live, work, and enjoy quality of life in Nashville, the access service, especially the premium access service, is absolutely vital to allowing me to maintain a high quality of life as a Nashvilleian with a disability and thrive in my career and independence. As a long-standing APAC member, I have had a front row seat to the advances and enhancements to the access service. However, I am wanting the MTA board to know that these improvements are in jeopardy if the following policy is implemented. I was advised by Marilyn Yoakley that the current number of premium trips that an access service user can utilize in a month is drastically being cut from 80 trips to 40 trips. Currently, an access customer can have the choice to utilize the premium service at their discretion. Some people use this service for their dialysis or medical appointments, to and from work or school, to shop, to go downtown, to enjoy entertainment, or all of the above. The arbitrary decision to force riders to lose their choice of service pushes WeGo Access backwards from the positive momentum experienced before. It costs the agency far more revenue to transport a rider in the vans or on the regular access service. So this couldn't truly be a funding remedy. Nevertheless, this decision was not shared at all with the APAC committee, allowing the direct feedback and advisement on this decision, which is why I am now appealing to the board. Cutting the number of premium trips in half or at all is detrimental. I ask that the people with disabilities who utilize the premium service continue to have the choice and opportunity to schedule their trips as needed, the current maximum of 80 trips. For example, if someone chooses to use a premium service to and from work with a 5-day work week, that would total 40 premium trips and therefore could not use the service at all to take them to and from any of their life events for the rest of the month. Let's not allow Nashville's paratransit service reflect minimum standards in comparison to other metropolitan cities, but rather exceed standards by prioritizing and valuing transit services for people with disabilities. Thank you, Natasha Wilkins. And that concludes Natasha's comments. Is there anyone else before we close public comments? I see no more hands, and Sir, thank you for standing up for Natasha's words to be read into the record opposed to just written in the record. I appreciate that. Anything further? If that's not it, I will close the public comment section. That closes the public comment section. Okay, so I'm going to go off the agenda again because we have some drivers to celebrate. Heard there was a bus rodeo not too long ago, and I heard we have some hardware to share. Is that correct, Mr. Bland?
That's my understanding as well. This past month was the International Bus Rodeo. And to just show the diversity of the crowd, we do have a bus operator here that we're celebrating, but also 3 of our technicians participated in the maintenance rodeo. So every year, it had been on hiatus following the pandemic. This was the first year back for the International Bus Rodeo, the American Public Transportation Association. So this past month, a few of our group traveled out to Portland, Oregon to compete. Joyce Banks competed in the bus rodeo. And we had our maintenance team of Troy Willis, Pedro Ochoa, and Winston Francis participate in the maintenance rodeo. Now, the thing to understand is you're talking about a group representing hundreds of thousands of transit employees. The largest agencies in the country, New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, are represented in these events. So when you talk about the cream of the cream of the cream of the cream, that's the event. So frankly, if you finish dead last, you are pretty darn good at what you do. But we don't invite our folks to participate in our board meetings when they finish dead last. and these folks did not. The team of Troy, Pedro, and Winston finished 10th out of 46 competing maintenance teams. And Joyce is probably going to be mad at me for saying this, because when I went up to congratulate her before the meeting, she kind of poo-pooed it like I should have done better. But you could say 30th out of 75, which is certainly in the top half of that group, 75 of the top bus operators in the country in a position that literally would probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 200,000 folks doing that job on a daily basis. So you did not finish 30th out of 75, Joyce. You finished 30th out of 200,000. If you know Joyce, we were all afraid she was going to say that.
Driver. I am not a 40-foot bus driver, so I thought I did okay.
Well, we all think you all did more than okay, and if the chair would accommodate the privilege, if the Joyce, you and our maintenance team can come up and have a photo taken with the board, we would certainly appreciate that. Yes,
awesome.
Please.
Well, congratulations to all of you. What an honor to go all the way out to Oregon and represent us and do as fine a job as you did. We're so proud of you all. This is awesome. And it's great for us to be able to celebrate this kind of excellence. So congrats to all of you. And next year, well, you know, stakes are higher. Just saying, the stakes are higher. But we're very proud of you. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work, not just there, but everywhere. And we appreciate all that you do for WeGo. Okay, I'm back on the agenda. But that was great. That's awesome. So I'm just happy to move. Are you emotional? Is that what you said? Yes, it is. So next on our agenda are the information-only items. Would any board member like to have any of these items moved out of information only for discussion? Hearing none of that, I would just once again, as I always do, urge you to make certain you spend some time reading those reports. And if you have questions, please contact the staff member that's responsible for that information. We have no items for the consent agenda item. And next is Operation and Finance. And Ms. Dolphin, I will send this over to you now.
Thank you very much, Madam
You're
Chair.
welcome.
I appreciate it. Let's keep it going because now it's about to be a party. There's a lot on the Operations and Finance Committee today. And so the first might be my favorite with Katie Freudberg delivering the quarterly route performance report. As I've been on the board, I have become a real nerd for these. So please take it away. I'm excited to hear more about the quarterly report.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Again, this quarter, January, February, and March of 2024, we were at about 97% of pre-COVID ridership, which is about what we've been seeing for the preceding quarters as well. And that was despite a very weak January. I don't know if anybody remembers it anymore, but there was a week and several days where we operated reduced service, where most people were not leaving their houses. And we still carried more passengers in January than we did in 2023, which was honestly surprising. I want to talk a little bit about on-time performance. Again, I know we visit this every few months, but it's an important indicator what we report on the quarterly report. But it doesn't really tell the whole story. It doesn't tell you, how many buses were evenly spaced, for example, on major corridors. And the percentage of buses that are late doesn't distinguish between buses that are 6 minutes and 1 second late and a bus that's maybe 20 minutes late, let's say. And there's a very different impact for those. If a bus is 6 minutes late, somebody might still make their connection. They might still make it to work on time. If a bus is 20 minutes late, typically people haven't built that much buffer into their trip, nor should they have to. And it makes it harder for the bus driver to get back on schedule. 6 minutes you may be able to make up. 20 minutes, it's very difficult to make up. Some of the major causes of buses that are, 15 or 20 plus minutes late are typically rush hour. I-24 and Nolensville and Murfreesboro running parallel to it are the major contributors to our extremely late buses. And then special events. And Jeremiah kind of started this conversation today, but one of the things that we've been trying to tackle is essentially our reliability for special events. So for non-Titan Sundays on the routes going east of downtown, fewer than 1% of buses are more than 20 minutes late. On a Titans day, and sorry, that's in the afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m., which is when the most passengers ride those buses. On a Titans game day, those numbers are closer to 10%, which means that it's very difficult to rely on the bus to get you to work, much less to people likely would not choose to ride it to a game, for example. But I'm pleased to report that we've been working with NDOT and MNPD, and we did have a very successful pilot of exclusive bus access to the Woodland Street Bridge and to Union Street for the Morgan Wallen concert. We did encounter some operational challenges that we'll continue to work through with them. But we did have, we definitely had travel times that were faster than our previous detour routes. We had service closer to the stadium, and we were able to confirm that they were also faster than being in general traffic, which was, well. So we're planning to continue to work with NDOT and MNPD to refine this plan so that we can continue to use it for all of the major Nissan events for the rest of the season. And then after that, hopefully expand to other major events, for example, Bridgestone events, and other footprints, including, Friday and Saturday nights downtown, for example. With the goal being that first to be more reliable, excuse me, to be more reliable for our current passengers who are trying to access, jobs, medical appointments, entertainment during those times. And then to make it a viable option for people who do want to use mass transit to access a special event. So we're excited to see where that goes over the next few months. And the final thing I'll leave you with is that next quarter, it will be the first quarter where we're reporting ridership for the major changes in the North Nashville area that started on March 31st. And I just want to note that those will be, we will have preliminary observations, but we do expect that to continue changing over the next 12 months to 2 years. So that won't be the, final take on what ridership and service is going to look like in North Nashville. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Freudberg. What an excellent report. How exciting to prioritize transit for special events, giving people in Nashville more options, right, for our amenities. That was excellent. Thank you for that. And I think that Steve has told me several times, like when you implement new service, typically there's a lag before you see really great adoption. So I'm expecting that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, any questions for Katie? I'm sorry.
I have one question. Is there any way to track the weather changes as it relates to, on-time service? Excuse me.
We do have the ability to overlay those. It's a little bit of a manual process right now, as far as getting weather data sources in and looking at those with our with our on-time performance or with our ridership, for example. I think it is something that Brian has been working on getting so that we have it in a little bit less of a manual approach.
Just curious if maybe it's not, maybe it's every month or maybe it's quarterly or something like that, knowing that, in the springtime we have wet weather and tornadoes and wind and stuff like that. So I wonder if look at that versus the summertime when it's sunny and bright and no issues. So.
Thank you. A weather contingency report.
Have the cicadas impacted on-time service?
Any other questions for Ms. Freudberg? Okay, thank you. So that was the easy part for this committee. The rest of them will be action items. The next thing we'll hear from Carl Rokos, Director of Maintenance, on purchasing some 40-foot clean diesel buses. Good afternoon. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Now you can hear me. Anyhow, in August of 2023, you all approved a 5-year contract with Gillig to purchase, clean diesel buses that are 40 foot long. And concurrent with our efforts to operate within, the capital fleet plan that we have, staff request approval to purchase 12 clean diesel buses and from that contract. These buses will replace 12 that are beyond their useful life and have reached, they're 12, 13 years old. And then it's consistent with the agency's efforts to get them. Now, we're looking at 12 buses that will be delivered probably fourth quarter of FY25, maybe third quarter, if you guys approve that. And WEGO's third-party inspector, Transit Resource Center, has conducted the required pre-purchase audit, and they'll do the same thing after the buses are delivered to MTA. And that's making sure that the Buy America content is 70% or better. And then they'll do the same thing after the purchase. 70% is the required amount. So anyhow, the recommendation is, staff recommends that the board provide the chief executive officer the authority to acquire 12 buses from Gillig Corporation for vehicles that are used in fixed route service. The requested contract authorization is for a not to exceed amount of $658,324 per bus, plus an additional $12,000 per bus for tools and training. The total is not to exceed a purchase of authorization for this acquisition of $8,043,888, and staff will return to the board for specific authorization to acquire equipment, for the remainder of the contract. Funding for this contract is already in place with $8,600,000 in Metro Nashville FY24 capital spending funds.
Thank you. Any questions for Carl about the purchase of 12 40-foot clean diesel buses?
What would our fleet count be with the purchase of the new buses since we started since March?
It'll be 167 because we're going to replace, it'll spike a little bit while we get them put into service, but it'll drop back down.
So we maintain a fleet of 167 40-foot buses?
No. We operate a fleet of 119 40-foot buses, additional 10 MCIs that are owned by RTA, and then the rest are RTECs.
Okay. All right.
And then the access fleet is supplemental to that of about 90?
Yeah.
So the total fleet's in the 250, 260 range.
Okay. How often do we replace buses? How often do we make these purchases?
Stay within the capital plan probably every year.
Well, 12 years the replacement cycle.
12 years.
Yeah. So basically, when we're putting together the fleet plan, so when these buses are delivered, like third, fourth quarter 2025, instantly Carl in the fleet plan will roll forward to 2037 and say we're due to replace 12 buses.
Those particular 12.
Yep. So the heavy duty coaches are our TICs and our 40-footers, and the MCIs are the over-the-road coaches that you see on the highway. Those have a 12-year useful life. The access vehicles have a 5-year useful life. Okay. And that's how we determine that. And then you may recall last year when we did the purchase, we actually also acquired expansion buses in anticipation of service expansion. Mm-hmm. So as we're working with Katie, and for instance, in the Choose How You Move program, there are allocations of what the peak fleet requirement would be with those service expansions. So then those expansion buses come on top. So, for instance, if that program is approved by the voters in November, the next time Carl comes around, he would likely have an acquisition plan that would include whatever we're due to replace next year, plus whatever that phase of service expansion would be.
Okay, thank you for that. I was just, my mind was going in that direction, and I wanted to point out that 12 buses cost over $8 million in 2024.
I won't tell you what they cost when I first came into the business, because it will just age me.
Okay, were they a nickel a piece? No, I'm just kidding.
No, and they weren't. And Jessica, they weren't fueled by hay either.
Just horses.
Write it down, Ed. You thought you had the corner market on that.
So anyway, I just want everyone to know that 12 40-foot clean diesel buses cost over $8 million today, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not going to get any cheaper as we move forward in time.
No.
Okay. So as we move forward and augment our services, this purchase will continue to get more expensive. Okay. Thank you. Any more questions before you go? Okay, great. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. My brain is not working today. You need to stay up here because you had a recommendation, right?
Yes, I did.
Yep.
That was for the board to provide the chief executive officer the authority to acquire 12 40-foot buses from Gillig for $658,324 each, plus an additional $12,000 for tools and training, with a total of $8,043,888.
Okay. So it is the recommendation of the Operations and Finance Committee to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation for item number MA24009 to purchase 12 40-foot clean diesel buses.
So that is a motion from the Finance Committee, and if I can have a second to that motion.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You have new buses
Thank you.
in the third or fourth quarter of 2025. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rokos. Next up is Ms. Lydia Benda. She's going to walk us through the project management software modification and implementation. I think there might have been an amendment to her recommendation and request. Am I right?
Yes,
Excellent.
we'll talk through that.
And she'll walk us through that. Thank you so much, Lydia. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and esteemed members of the WEGO board. Today, I'm pleased to present a critical board action item considering the modification and implementation of the Oracle Unifier Project Controls Management System, Historically, WEGO Transit has managed the capital projects using a variety of very rudimentary systems. These include spreadsheets maintained across different departments, such as engineering, finance, grants, and others. And this approach requires significant manual effort to produce essential project management status updates and change order documentations and project management reports. So each department has been managing and maintaining their own spreadsheets and files and adding extra work to assure reconciliation of data. While this method is adequate for our project management needs, are evolving alongside with the agency, and even smaller projects such as bus shelter installations now involve complex construction tasks like easement acquisitions, engineering design, extensive coordination with other agencies, construction of stormwater infrastructure, and electrical needs. So larger projects such as transit centers require even more demanding work from us. So the complexity and pace of our capital improvement projects are expected to increase significantly, especially if Mayor O'Connell's Choose How You Move transportation improvement program is approved by the voters. So even without this program, we anticipate a growing number of complex projects necessitating more sophisticated project management tools. So recognizing this need, the MTA board allocated $500,000 in the FY 2024 to 2028 capital improvement plan to begin implementing advanced project management solutions. In February of 2022, we used a state contract to obtain and implement Oracle Unifier asset management software for facilities management. And that included an introduction to the Oracle Unifier Project Controls project management software. This was viewed as an interim solution for us. In February 2023, the board approved a contract to engage eVision to develop an enterprise asset management plan, which included an evaluation of our project delivery needs. So the evaluation concluded that the Oracle Unifier Project Controls project management software best meets our evolving needs, offering integration with our existing facilities management software system and interfaces with our financial and procurement systems and future enterprise asset management system. So the proposed Oracle Unifier Project Controls project management system, it's a mouthful, has some key features that will help us, that being a centralized project repository, so one single location for all project-related information accessible by those necessary users, project performance tools, including simplified tools for planning, scheduling, cost management, procurement control, and risk management, and advanced reporting, facilitating timely and accurate project reporting, including project and program status reports to track the capital spending plan. So in conclusion, the implementation of the Oracle Unifier Project Controls Project Management System is a pivotal step in advancing our project management capabilities. This system will enable us to manage our increasingly complex project portfolio more effectively and ensure successful project delivery. We urge the board to approve the recommended actions to proceed with this critical project. So before I get into the recommendations, we do have some slight changes to what is in front of you on page 20, and I will talk through that. And those changes are based on last-minute information from Oracle to bundle the licensing information instead the licensing agreements. Instead of it being an annual cost, we'll bundle it for a 3-year cost, and it enables us to have some cost savings to the agency. So first, our staff recommends the following actions to implement the system. First, we recommend approval to an amendment to the fiscal year 2024 to 2028 capital plan to move $750,000 plus $300,000 for a total of $1,050,000. So that's the change from the enterprise asset management system line item to the project management software line item, increasing the total to $1.55 million. So we'll send out these documents with the revived recommendations after the secretary approves them for the board. Secondly, the staff recommends...
So just so I know for certain, are you not asking us to consider that today, or?
No, I do want you to consider it.
Okay.
I apologize, we weren't able to get the revised
No, it's okay.
numbers.
I just wasn't clear exactly if you were saying you were going to wait till the corrections came to us, or you wanted us to consider it today. And I'm fine with whatever. I just wanted to be clear.
I'll defer to the board secretary for that.
So I'm comfortable if you take the motion up today with the revised figures. I mean, you have the recommendation, and you can walk us through what numbers are different, and then we'll get the motion typed up appropriately and get the signatures, assuming it passes today.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification.
No, it's fine.
What we were asking for is great.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. So that was the first recommendation. Secondly, staff recommends authorization to the chief executive officer to enter into purchase agreements not to exceed $1,550,000, including a 15% contingency for the following. For Oracle, $550,000 for modification and implementation of the Oracle Unifier Project Controls Project Management System software. eVision, $256,000 to provide project management, testing, change management, and training services to support this implementation. Kemper Solutions, I'm not sure they're Kemper, $144,000 to develop, test, and successfully implement systems integration tools between the Oracle Unifier Project Controls Project Management System and our Sage accounting financial management software. The budget also includes $300,000 for WeGo project management staff to manage the project and work with consultants and staff. And finally, this is the addition, $300,000 for Oracle licenses for the first 3 years. The annual license fees are bundled for a discount to the agency to get the software up and running. Funding for this project will come from a combination of Federal Transit Administration Section 5307 funds with state and local matching capital grants And this system is anticipated to result in ongoing annual operating expenses of approximately $104,000 for the annual licenses and product support starting in year 4, July 2028, which will be incorporated into our annual operating budgets in fiscal year 2028 and beyond. So, thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Lydia. So basically, we're saving $4,000 a year for 3 years.
Something like that, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions for Lydia at this time?
I had one. First, I don't think we are at a place, or we're going to a place where spreadsheets will get us. So yay for trying to phase out spreadsheets.
Even though they are some incredible spreadsheets.
Oh, I bet they are.
I love spreadsheets.
Yes, I do agree. Pretty. So many great pivot tables associated with them. The Oracle system, I assume, or I'm hoping, in addition to helping manage current projects, as we're sort of continuing to evolve and expand to bigger projects, I assume it would be a repository of information from which we can learn and help predict what we may need or want for future projects.
Yes, this will be a great tool for us to manage the capital plan. Okay. So starting from the concept of a project all the way through construction and completion, and then we turn over all of those documents to the asset management group to manage it once it's constructed and completed. So this helps us in that whole process, not only for that one project, but for a program of projects that we have, so that we can track the capital spending plan by line item and roll up those projects into those various line items.
Good. Yeah, I like it.
And Catherine, it's definitely going to be scalable because we find it is a product that's in use by significantly larger agencies doing even more complex projects. And I suspect it's also going to become important as we pursue some of the more competitive federal programs in terms of being able to illustrate our project management capacity when we compete for those funds.
Yeah, this is a really big deal. I love that you're looking at technology and modernization of your process. I especially like that it's breaking down the individual departments and allowing you to see what other departments are doing and how the workflow goes through, and it's in one place. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of organizing time like that and process. One more time, any questions for Lydia?
I do have one question. The $300,000 for staff, am I to assume that this will require to hire a new staff person? Or how is that $300,000?
We are keeping track of staff time so that we can charge that against a grant in the future.
Yeah, the approach we're taking with Lydia's group, which is right now it's Lydia and 2 project managers, is by and large, other than some overhead, their time is being charged to whatever projects they're working on. So You'll see line items associated with shelter projects or transit center projects, or in this case, the software system project.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
That was, by the way, Ed's parting request to relieve the operating budget.
Right. It will be a huge help, and I give Steve the credit. He's been pushing us for about 3 years. We finally gotten to the point with Lydia coming up with this project control system to actually basically capitalize the labor cost, and it will offset off the operating budget, so it'll be a big help.
Oh, thanks. That's very helpful. Thank you.
I think I got 3 questions. So first one is that's awesome that we are moving to away from the spreadsheet. So great job there. What other transit authorities are using this software?
As I understand, Amtrak is implementing this. Other specific organizations I'm not aware of, but I am aware of the Amtrak is implementing this.
And then what is the difference between what Envision is providing and Kemper are providing?
Good question. eVision is providing us with project management and change management. They're helping to shepherd this project through our change and interact with Oracle. So helping us implement this new software? Because it's going to be touching a lot of
They're basically the equivalent on a construction project would be the construction manager. So they'll be the hired project manager. They have expertise in these systems and know the Oracle product pretty thoroughly.
Kemper is associated with Sage, and maybe, Ed, you can help me out.
eVision didn't have the expertise to be able to marry Oracle with our Sage software, so we had to have another third party to help us assist us with that integration.
It's basically all the interfaces that we need between project management and accounting software.
Right. And I would say one more thing about this particular software, that Metro is implementing Oracle Project Controls within 5 of the groups in Metro. So they are moving in this direction as well.
And then the additional 300 that's not listed here in our notes, is that not included in Oracle's modification and implementation
No,
fees?
it's a separate ongoing licensing fee.
Yeah, it's basically front-ending the first 3 years of the license. So it's that where Lydia alludes to the $104,000 a year estimate by signing on essentially to a 3-year license. It knocks it down for those first 3 years to $100,000 a year.
All right, then last question. Cybersecurity. Is there any issue, concern as it relates to cybersecurity moving to some? Is there anything that's built in here that covers us cybersecurity-wise?
That is a good question. I don't have a straight answer for you other than knowing it will be cloud-based. Oracle is dealing with those kinds of issues all the time in many organizations. So I'm sure that they have things in place, but I don't know the specifics of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you need details, Ron, we're happy to get them. It will probably require us bringing in our Metro IT folks who work a lot in the cybersecurity realm to explain which protocols they use and what have you, which in the 2 or 3 meetings Rob has invited me into, I'm still not exactly sure what I heard.
My only concern was, is that if Oracle is doing it or eVision, like, is there a cost to do something like that? And if so, is it built into the number in which we currently have?
Well, I would anticipate their cybersecurity features are built into the software product. I think you'd be hard pressed now to sell, a major enterprise system that doesn't have any security features for such a mission critical piece of software. And I know specifically we worked with Metro IT quite a bit when we were installing the init system for Quick Ticket, on those cybersecurity features. And they have very detailed protocols for, understanding what base systems they're working off of and what the hardware interfaces are. So we'll certainly continue to work with Metro IT's group to ensure that maximum security. And I'll come back to the earlier theme of contents. Is I don't know much about the cybersecurity features of this system, but I'm pretty sure that they're more robust than our spreadsheets.
But it might be a good idea just for someone to get back in touch with him about what cybersecurity is available.
Rob, can you do some follow-up on that?
Oops. Did you want to say something?
We work with Metro ITS, and we have a questionnaire that we send out to our vendors to make sure they follow it. Then we get back with Metro ITS to make sure everything is secure. We are very proactive, and Metro is very proactive to make sure that everything is secure in our environment, because we're connected with not only our department, but the other 54 departments within Metro. So we're very proactive in that activity.
And Rob, since you're up here, thank you very much for facilitating public comments today.
All right, thank you.
And as I said, Metro ITS is also leading the effort for those 5 different groups in Metro that are implementing this as well. So they're on top of that. But I will do my best to get back to you about the cybersecurity.
Okay. Janet? No. You have a motion?
Yes. There's a motion to approve staff recommendation on MA 24010, including the amended amount of $1.55 million, including the $300,000 Oracle licenses for the first 3 years.
Okay. That enough for you? Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Here we are.
You
Good
got
job.
it, Lydia. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, please see Patrick Hester, Deputy COO, to lead us through vehicle lifts and garage equipment purchase. WeGo is really moving up in the world. See what I did there with the lifts?
Yeah, nice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased right now. We got, as from assets and infrastructure point of view, we got buses on the way and buildings coming online. So
Facilitate it all.
there we go. Yes, I'm pretty excited. Thank you. Good afternoon, board. I'm here to present on board action item MA 23011 to present on vehicle lifts and garage equipment. And as you are aware, the agency serves a significant number of passengers, as we heard, up to 30,000 passengers per day. And our fleet is a critical component in reliability and convenient transportation to our community here. But one of the challenges that we face in our vehicle maintenance department right now is our limited amount of vehicle lifts. And so the first order of mobile vehicle column lifts that we ordered back in 2016 were amazing, and they supplied a massive improvement to our fleet maintenance program as far as service and efficiency and just overall safety. So it was a fantastic purchase for our team. And since then, the agency has expanded, right? We expanded in terms of service hours, we expanded in terms of vehicles, we've expanded in manpower, and we've expanded our PM program and service maintainability. So, and not to mention the addition of the apprenticeship program, which has expanded our maintenance service, probably by 30 to 40%, I'd say right now. So with all that said, not having enough lifts has basically resulted in prolonged maintenance times escalation and also increased cost. So the agency identified what was a contract to purchase an additional 48 Stericone mobile column lifts, which was competitively procured following the federal regulations by the state of Louisiana. The procurement department complied with federal requirements and the vendor signed off on the necessary Buy America certifications and all additional federal clauses. So if this is approved, we will have a truckload of lifts within 6 weeks and an additional truckload within an additional 6 weeks to help us improve in that vehicle availability, those PM inspections, those PM follow-ups, those brakes, which is very important to our safety, just triaging buses, body shop work, and that apprenticeship training. So with all that said, the staff requests the board to approve the Chief Executive Officer the authorization to use a Louisiana state contract on behalf of the National Association of State Procurement Officials to procure 48 Stericone heavy-duty lifts directly from Stericone USA Incorporated for a not-to-exceed amount of $865,000. This project has been programmed in previous capital improvement plans under the general category of facility maintenance and capital replacement and will be funded under the currently available federal section 5307 formula funds with state and local match.
Thank you, Mr. Hester. Any questions?
I have none.
Can I just say that I was born and raised in Louisiana, so well done you finding a contract from the state of Louisiana. So many good things come from there.
Indeed.
All right. Seeing no further comments or questions for Patrick on, oh, I'm sorry, Ron?
I know I'm hogging the mic with the questions, but is 48 the right amount?
48 is the right amount for now. We do have a little bit there for over the next couple of years as we tend to swap out exchange for useful life lifts over the next couple of years. But 48 is the right amount with spares for both facilities, both Nestor and Maya. That includes our, what we would say is maintenance bays, van bays, and body shop work. And the apprenticeship program, sorry.
Okay. Gail? Oh, you waiting
No
on
question,
me?
no question. Waiting on you.
Seeing no further questions, it is a motion to accept staff recommendation for MA 23011 to give the Chief Executive Officer the authorization to use the Louisiana state contract on behalf of the National Association of State Procurement Officials to procure 48 Sterile-Coney heavy-duty lifts directly from Sterile-Coney USA Incorporated for a not-to-exceed amount of $865,000. Okay.
And that is a motion, correct?
Yes, I said that was a motion.
Okay. And is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Is there any further discussion?
Do
Hearing
those
no.
come with any beignets or anything?
I'm sure we can work something out. They do come with a couple of things, shipping and delivery, a warranty. Oh yeah, training. So
all that's critically important to
Absolutely.
our progress. So hopefully they'll bring a bag of beignets and maybe a little chicory coffee. Having any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Saving the best for last, Mr. Castrodov will now lead us through Multimodal Mobility Plan Contract Awards.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I know you're familiar with our strategic plan in motion, and believe it or not, this fall is going to be 8 years since we adopted that plan. It has aged better than the cost of buying new buses, but it has aged nonetheless. So it's time for us to work on an update to the plan, and not only to account and reflect what has happened with after the pandemic with travel changes and habits and all that, but also because of the growth that we're experiencing in Nashville and a rapid growth. So transit agencies are usually, behind in trying to catch up with what's happening, and it's been a challenge here in Nashville. And as you know, the city is working on a plan to address a lot of that. But that plan is looking at what we know now, and there's a lot of things that need to be looked at. That the plan doesn't get into the details, the program for the referendum. But motion has been really good. It has charted the way for us to accomplish a lot of improvements in terms of transit, not only in Nashville, but at the regional level as well. But we need to be able to better cater to what those new demands are and be able to respond to what's happening. So the approach, again, is for MTA and RTA to collaborate as we did with the previous plan and have a unified approach. As there's a lot of synergies happening between what's happening at the local level in Nashville versus what's happening at the regional level, and those connections need to exist clearly there. But also, there is an opportunity for us to also partner with additional efforts that are happening at the local level. And as you remember back in March, we brought to you an MOU with NDOT, the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure. And they are working on a plan to update, examine the opportunities of improvements with the roadway network, that infrastructure. Also, Metro Planning is updating their major and collector street plan, the MCSP. So the goal here is to consolidate efforts in terms of the public outreach and make sure that we're not being confusing, we're not creating planning meeting fatigue with what we're trying to accomplish. Plus, there's work that is happening that pertains to what we're doing with the transit that NDOT and planning are doing with updating their deliverables and their plans. MTA conducted the procurement of services and will be the contracted agency with all partners, which will reimburse MTA issuing invoices upon milestones that are completed. MTA put a request for qualifications, an RFQ, out last December, and we received responses from 3 qualified firms, Kimley Horn, SSR, and AECOM. The evaluation committee selected Kimley Horn as the successful firm to conduct the study, and we conducted negotiations for a best and final offer. When we asked for that best and final offer, we asked Kimley Horn to revise the schedule. They gave us a 12-month schedule, and understanding how these projects usually tend to take some more time, we asked for a revised 18-month schedule. We also asked for information on analysis for coordination for transit use as part of TDOT's Choice Lanes program, as part of the Transportation Modernization Act. And so we received that best and final offer from Kimley Horn back at the end of April. And the amount for that was $1,998,990. They also provided 2 options for the analysis of transit and choice lanes. One of them was with travel demand modeling for $73,500, and another option with, so the option was without, the option 1 without travel demand modeling, the option 2 was with travel demand modeling for $273,000. So the travel demand modeling is just getting more granular about modeling how that transit will perform using the choice lanes with general traffic and all that. So it's more detailed analysis. After reviewing this information, staff is recommending that the MTA Board of Directors provide the Chief Executive Officer the authority to enter into the necessary agreements and contracts to advance an updated strategic service plan in cooperation with RTA, NDOT, and Metro Planning for a total cost of $2,250,000. That includes $1,998,990 for the base proposal from Kimley Horn, and $73,500 for option 1 of choice lanes, which is the integration with transit with no travel demand modeling, and a contingency of $177,510. We wanted to make sure that there was a contingency for the project, and we would like to explore the potential of having the modeling done, talking to GNRC and TDOT about that potential. So we didn't want to just go ahead and pay that if we know we can get assistance in that way. The total contract term is for 24 months with a milestone for final recommendations at 18 months. And the funding for this study includes FTA 5307 urbanized area formula funding. Those funds have been identified in the capital plan. It also includes FTA 5303 Metropolitan Planning Funds through GNRC and local funding from Metro government through NDOT and Metro Planning Department. That is the recommendation for this, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for proactively answering the question I had about why no transportation modeling. You went ahead and addressed that. Any questions for Felix about the staff recommendation to enter into a contract for a multimodal mobility plan? Okay. I'm super excited about this. So,
Me too.
Yes, I'm sure. In Motion has been a great strategic plan and guideposts for the agency for the last 8 years. It's been nice to have those, accomplishments along the way and point to something that we've been able to do successfully. So I very enthusiastically motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry, Aaron.
One quick question. Is the contract for 24 months or 18?
It'll be for 24 months. Okay. We will ask for deliverables, initial deliverables by the 18-month mark.
Okay. And does that I forget what it's called, the modeling, transportation modeling. Is that at that 18-month mark too, or before then?
Yes.
Somewhere? Okay. All right.
Well, this contract doesn't include the transportation modeling, but they've left the door open with GNRC for
Right.
alternative.
I thought it said and include option 1. Right.
Without the transportation modeling.
Oh, okay.
The option 1 is without, option 2 is with.
Okay.
But if we are able to get additional funding or get GNRC to work on the modeling or TDOT, we will have that hopefully at the 18-month mark.
We have, on that particular topic, we've had ongoing dialogue with TDOT about how transit might be integrated into the future choice lanes project. So as this process kind of evolves, as well as TDOT, because they're intending to move pretty aggressively on the initial corridors for choice lanes, we may very well come back with an amendment if we're at that point.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And you're so savvy with the timing. You've been through this a time or two.
A few times.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, option 1 doesn't include the modeling, but it does include just what integration could look like?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And bear in mind that, when they talk about transit lane, choice lanes, they talk about including transit, but it's just more than a bus riding on a lane. You have to look at things like park and rides and how do you provide for transit buses exclusivity and access to those lanes. So things of that nature. It just doesn't get to the micro level of modeling what it's kind of micro simulation when you look at traffic, how the movements look like. That's a lot more detail. That's the part that we're trying to negotiate separately.
All right. Any other questions for Felix? Okay. I enthusiastically make a motion to approve staff recommendation for MA 24012. Giving the Chief Executive Officer the authority to enter into a professional services contract with Kimley Horn to conduct the multimodal mobility plan in the amount of $2,250,000. That includes $998,990 for the base proposal, with $73,500 for option 1.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Felix. Madam Chair, this concludes the business of the Finance and Operations Committee.
Well, the Finance and Operations has been a busy committee this afternoon. So with that, I will turn this over to Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have one information-only item for the NICE Committee, and Hannah Schaefer and Robert Johnson are going to give us a WeGo Link program update.
I would like to quickly introduce this item, Madam Chair and board members. So, as you're aware, we have been implementing this WeGo Link program for a while now. And it has morphed greatly since we first introduced a pilot within the Antioch area about 2 years ago. So the program has grown to 13 zones in the past couple of years, but we still receive requests from people that are outside of the zones that would like to have zones expanded or the creation of new zones in that process. So I know, Madam Chair, you were at the budget hearings last evening. That was a topic of questioning from the council toward the end. So I wonder if they were looking at the agenda, because we precisely know that those are some of the issues that we're facing as we continue to look into the expansion of these zones in the future. What are those challenges? So I'm going to turn it over to Hannah Schaefer, who you've heard from before. She's our transit business intelligence analyst with our service quality, and also Robert Johnson, who is a planner with our planning department. He's been with us a little over a year. Came to us from TDOT. Before that, he was at Walk Bike Nashville, and plenty of experience in terms of transportation in the South London, by that, as he likes to say. So in England and Australia. So you'll be delighted to listen from Robert and Hannah today. So I'm going to turn it over to them to take over the item.
Thanks, Felix. Good afternoon, Board. So last time we gave you an update on the WeGo Link program was back in October, and one of the questions that you left me with was, what does a successful program look like? We give you a lot of facts and figures and everything, but the question remained, what makes this successful? And so as Felix mentioned, we have 13 zones, and I wanted to take a snapshot of what's happened over the last year. So we've had over 2,700 rides taken with an average trip distance of 2.3 miles, lasting 6.5 minutes, so not a large addition to anybody's commute. And I wanted to point out kind of the per trip costs. So we've budgeted this to where the passenger pays a minimum of $2, and we pay up to anything, we pay the difference up to $10 from there. So with the program that we put in place, with the criteria that we initially set, we're staying within the parameters of what we initially had programmed and kind of planned for in this. So keeping the trip cost down with an average of $7.70 per trip. And beyond that, even though the passenger will pay the difference, anything beyond that $10, we have seen that 90% of trips have been within that $2 minimum. So staying within those parameters of, keeping the cost down while also providing that access that otherwise we could not meet with the same kind of cost differential with fixed route service. So I wanted to take a look at those additional 10% trips to see what that looks like. Is it surge pricing? Is it distance based? And it really is, the longer the distance, the higher the fare. So we're not seeing a major impact on Uber surge pricing that's impacting the customer. Beyond that, and I'm just going to keep this brief because Robert has a lot of really great things to talk about with this, but another thing that we've noticed, excuse me, Antioch was our first zone, and it does continue to maintain that high continued growth. So we're seeing more and more unique riders per month. We're seeing more trips taken per month. And another zone that I was really interested in looking at was the Old Hickory zone that also really met that initial criteria that Robert's going to go into, and really keeping an eye on that, because although we are seeing a little bit longer distances in that zone, we are seeing a very positive growth in there, telling us that we are meeting a need that otherwise could not be met, and connecting passengers to our fixed route service. So that's mostly what I really wanted to cover. And with that, I'll turn it over to Robert to continue talking about the rest of the program.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, good afternoon. I'm going to talk about the program criteria that we did use, where we are now with that, and then move on a little bit to perhaps ask for discussion items about the moving forward, whether we should change the program criteria based on what Hannah said, and then move on finally to pilots that we'd like to put before you right now, please. The WeGo Link program had some criteria that we set as to how we were going to design the zones initially. They should connect to either frequent transit services, our frequent services, or the high capacity transit at the railroad stations. We wanted the places where the customers were going to make the transfer between Uber and the bus, or between bus and the Uber. We wanted those to be safe and comfortable, i.e. preferably ADA accessible, already sheltered stops. We wanted to choose places that were not covered by fixed route service. We didn't particularly want to compete with ourselves. We do that a little, but we wanted it to be a service specifically for people who lived in low density areas that probably weren't going to get a fixed route service very soon. And we wanted to promote greater demographic and geographic service equity overall. We wanted to use this program to provide services for those who weren't getting them but needed them. We identified came up during the in-motion process that we should focus on places that had a propensity for the need for transit. And the definitions we chose of that was a composite score there. We created those composite scores in the different colours, which included low-income households, minority populations, households with no car, and then we also added high employment density places. So we're talking not just about where people lived, but also where they then went to work. So those were the criteria that we used to generate these scores. The darker areas, therefore, have a greater propensity for transit using American Community Survey and census data. The grey areas are a half a mile either side of our frequent bus services. So we consider those pretty good coverage areas. And then if it's outside the grey area, then it does not have good coverage. So as you can see, there were some dark-coloured red areas that we did not provide services for, i.e. those were transit-dependent people who we are not providing with fixed route service. Those were the target areas for us. And then more recent data, as more American Community Surveys are done, that reveals that transit-dependent people are moving out from the centre of Nashville. Obviously, that the housing burden is getting greater, we're all aware of that, and our data supports those red colours moving out of Nashville, and of course our service is less dense as you get away from the city centre. That resulted in these zones. As Hannah said, we started with Antioch, and then there's the full list of all 12 of them now. And if I overlay the circles from that previous map being the places where we judge there to be transit-dependent people, or the employment centres, you can see we're doing a pretty good job of matching up where we've had zones installed with where we think those, statistically, where those demands look like they were. Not every single one, that we have provided more zones, actually, than the red circles, but all of the red circles, as you can see, are pretty well covered. There is definitely still demand. We're still getting demand. As Hannah says, demand is rising. So we think the program is relatively low budget, given the political importance that it has and how people request it. So we do think that the service should continue to be expanded. And as I say, demographics indicates that we should be changing it because people are moving out as they become more and more housing cost burdened and are moving further and further away. So all of those things make us think that we should further expand the project, expand the program. I won't say we've met everybody who has a need for the propensity, has a need for transit. We haven't met all of those demands, but we think we probably are going to refine the way we identify places, and we're open for discussion on that. We haven't decided yet, but that's certainly something that we'll be going through, and we'll be happy to take your questions and comments on that. Certainly expanding the zone size, so each zone becomes larger, that would have an impact on either the passenger, who would end up paying more than $2 more often, as Hannah was just explaining, or should we increase our subsidy? Currently, we pay $8. After the customer has paid a $2 minimum fare, we then pay up to the next $8, but as you saw from Hannah, actually, that's currently capping out at $7.70. And then after that, the customer pays surge pricing, or if they're really making a journey that's from one very corner of a zone to a bus stop a long way away, they might max out that $10, but we've designed the zones to be about that. And another impact of expanding the zone size, as some people frequently comment, is limited availability of Uber and mobility solutions. As we get more and more out into those more and more rural areas, I'm going to say rural areas of Davidson County, there are less Ubers, so it becomes a longer and longer wait time. So then they're not getting a good service when they get off their bus late at night to go to their home destination. But even worse is they can't get on the Uber to go to the bus because they can't timetable to connect with the bus. And we're talking about areas further out, so the buses are already less frequent. So there's quite a lot of things to think about when we come to this expansion. Other reasons we have thought about expansion is areas that have had previous service where we've removed it. Those people, of course, know what they lost, and so they do tend to write in. So it will be responsive to provide service where we formerly have service and don't now. Rapidly growing areas, I've covered that already. And customer requests. We think this program needs expanding because people are asking for it. Moving on now to talk to you now about the pilots we would immediately like to propose in front of you, rather than moving away from sort of the general program questions to specific ones. Here are the 3 pilots we'd like to run now, please. And then I'll go on to talk about those in greater detail, each one. A proposed McGavock pilot zone covering all of Pennington Bend, centred roughly on Opry Mills shopping centre. So you do have the 34 coming in from the top, and then down at the bottom we have the railroad and the number 6 at Donaldson Station. For the current advertised $10, they can certainly get from anywhere in Pennington Bend to Opry Mills, and they can get to most of that zone. They could get down to a number 6. So it certainly meets the criteria of high capacity, and the transfer locations are pretty pleasant as well, outside Opry Mills Mall or Donaldson Railroad Station. And it was the 34, as you may know, used to go south of Opry Mills, so it fulfills quite a lot of our existing criteria, that one. The Adventure Science Centre zone, completely different, but very interesting. They have repeatedly asked for, fixed route service. The problem there being the street network doesn't really facilitate us diverting the 75 to go to the Adventure Science Centre. So we think giving them a WeGo Link zone might be a nice pilot way of exploring how many people really would integrate a visit to the Adventure Science Centre with transit. That is one of the purposes of the programme, is a very relatively quick and relatively easy way to trial, well, will people use public transit at all? The Adventure Science Centre thinks so, and so we're willing to have this zone to find out. Transfer locations here were quite problematic. You see that we've got a zone right down there on Wedgwood Avenue, a couple of transfer locations down there on Wedgwood Avenue on the number 8, and the reason why that's not up at Chestnut Street is because all those bus stops are awful on 8th. I mean, 8th Avenue is generally awful, but really asking someone, especially if they really are dragging younger children with a stroller and a car seat and whatever they're doing, some of those bus stops are pretty awful. So unfortunately, that transfer point's down at Wedgwood Avenue there. And then over on the 52, they're not bad, actually. There are a couple of sheltered stops there. In fact, the Johnson Early Learning Centre is one of our success stories, with a great new shelter outside that one on 2nd. So the transfer points are not bad. And that one does not overlap any other bus services, and it would genuinely allow customers to go to and from the Adventure Science Centre if they were dragging a lot of luggage or whatever. And then finally the Bell Road zone, again, different again. A residential area, obviously there's the recreational uses on the lake. The 38 Antioch Express used to go from there into the city. It would fill in the gap between the existing Hermitage zone and Antioch zone, which, as Hannah said, is very popular. Workers might go to BNA on that. We've got BNA as one of the transfer points, and it will be interesting to see who goes to and from that zone to BNA for $2 and subsidised by us $8. It'll be interesting to see who does that. Right down there, Nashville Village is already one of the transfer locations for Antioch. And of course, Donaldson Station, as I said, is a relatively high quality transfer location in the north onto the 6 or the railroad. But that one fills in a nice, and that makes all of the zones over there around that side, Hermitage, Bell Road, Antioch, all of those residents end up with WeGo Link coverage if we do that. So those are the 3 pilots that we'd like to propose right now, please. Next steps is we're pretty happy with those boundaries and those transfer points, but we always double check everything. Uber has been fine to work with on this, and Mobility Solutions does provide the service for people who are unbanked or don't have a smartphone. I've used it. It works. It's pretty old-fashioned, but it works. You ring up, talk to a guy, and he sends the vehicle out, and it was a fully disabled access vehicle when it came and got me. And I paid cash. I paid $2 in cash. There was no questions, no problem with that. So I definitely didn't have a smartphone, definitely didn't have a credit card. It absolutely worked. We would start it as a pilot. Then we'd carry on with stakeholder engagement to see what people thought about it. I think Hannah said last time, we really think this could be sold better by the people who are in the zones, either homeowners associations or businesses, the Venture Science Centre, and the council members. We really think they should take part. And then we would then do the obligatory Title VI analysis to see what impact this had on our equity as a whole before we formalise the services if the pilot showed people using it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Great report. Questions, comments?
Do you think one of the issues we'll be looking toward, so both Hannah and Robert kind of gave an overview of the zone criteria, because as we get requests, people who don't really understand what the purpose of it is are kind of asking for, WeGo link zones in areas. Well, wait a minute. So you want us to put a zone in so that people who can currently ride the bus won't ride the bus anymore. They'll use that $2 and grab an Uber. So basically, as we assess these, we'll be looking at them in line with that criteria and likely reviewing them again with the board as we move along.
Does anybody see a reason why we shouldn't pursue these pilot zones? I mean, to me, the more service, the better, right? I think we should have a larger discussion about expanding the zones because the financial model works currently, right? 90% of the time, so.
Yeah, and I'll come back to something. So Hannah mentioned, would you say our average now is 770 or so? So for perspective, Robert alluded to the old 38 bus. Our average subsidy per rider on that bus was $45.
Goodness gracious.
Because you're running a bus empty 90% of the time.
Goodness.
And the 10% of the time there was someone on it, the trip into town took 4 times as long as driving.
That's crazy. Other questions, comments?
Yeah, just for clarification, is our subsidy $8 or $10?
Our subsidy is 8. It's actually just a marketing thing that we say 10. All of our marketing says 10. So there's a base fare, a minimum fare for the customer of $2. We will then subsidize up to the next $8, and beyond 10 would be surge pricing or congestion or something else, and the customer has to pay back.
Other questions, comments? It's super interesting. I've followed this from day one, and I just think it's great because we cannot cover the entire 450 square miles of Davidson County with fixed route service. So I think the consensus of the board is keep going, right?
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Okay, well, great. Thank you so much for the report, Hannah and Robert. And that concludes the New Initiatives and Community Engagement Committee report.
Well, thank you, Ms. Miller. That was a great report. Very interesting how we get around. Next on our agenda is Mr. Bland for your report. And Mr. Bland, I've been informed that we have an exit time of 4:45. So
I can take a hint.
So you get 5, I get 5.
Absolutely.
And then we all break down this room. Okay.
First of all, I did want to touch base and appreciate, I think most of them have left already, but our APAC folks who've shown up. I have talked to our folks. We'll reassess impacts before there are any changes. We'll come back to the board and report with it, because clearly the intent of that program was not to limit access. It was to expand access. So I'll be getting with our gang between now and the June meeting. And if there's a need to materially change the policy the board adopted back, I think, last August, then we will certainly do that. I want to thank everybody who for their support while I was away for a bit over a week, and specifically want to thank our operations team. I see Gabe Burgess in the back of the room. I was not able to attend the State of Metro, but about 50 people sent me pictures of the very beautiful backdrop, possibly the most beautiful backdrop for a State of Metro address ever. So thanks, Gabe, and whoever's precision driving skills got those vehicles into that facility. So I do appreciate it. Mayor also released his budget this past month with a recommendation. It's a tighter budget year for Metro with some tightening revenue forecasts. The recommended allocation to WeGo would go up $2,675,000. Our baseline budget request increase was for $6.5 million. We will be able to present you a balanced budget in June that incorporates this and does not require any reduction in service or any impact on fares, so there'd be no impact on customers. And the way we're frankly doing that is by allocating more of our federal capital dollars into preventive maintenance. It's not a super strong long-term practice, but because we got a really robust allocation of capital spending fund dollars from Metro toward the bus replacement program that Carl alluded to, we feel comfortable doing it this year. Structurally, we'll have to address that issue over time. Clearly, if the Choose How You Move initiative passes, that issue is taken care of. Otherwise, we'll have to go into next year's budget. And on that topic, we participated in the Metro Council budget hearing on our budget yesterday. A lot of good questions from council members. Appreciate our chair, Gail Carr-Williams, participating in that event, as well as it being our CFO, Ed Oliphant's last event. We threw him one question and he wasn't able to answer it. And, you know, so that'll be your finest memory of Metro Council. Continue to support the Choose How You Move initiative through Speakers Bureau and other activities. And I think I will defer any of the other items and yield my time to our chair.
Thank you, Steve. Great report. And thanks for allowing me to sit with you during the report yesterday with Metro Council. I thought we were very well received. I thought Steve's presentation, as you can imagine, was excellent, very thorough. And Ed, I thought you did a great job. But and you have done a great job over a number of years, having sat there at that table with you on a multitude of occasions.
Oh, no, I can foresee within the next 30 days that Ed Oliphant will be the reason that something didn't work.
Well, that might be the case, but I'm not going to be the first to throw you under the bus. But I promise, but I don't know. But we'll talk about you. I'll talk about you a little bit more at the end of this report, too, because I want to make certain that I give you your full attention. And the State of Metro address was great. I mean, it was transit. And in the mayor's comments, I thought that it was quite clear that how much he trusts the work that is being done by all of you. And the optimism for transit for our city is great. And I thought it was great. And Gabe Burgess, let me tell you, you are a rock star. You are indeed a rock star. The bus was perfect. People still talk about it. It was brand new. It was clean. It was beautiful. It wasn't all purple, but purple enough. Because we talked about it, not how we decided to make these buses purple, but we put the little gray line in it. But it was done perfectly. And I want to say this, too, about Gabe. This isn't the first time he's presented us in such a way to allow for progress for transit in our city. I remember many years ago when we got the electric buses, and we were downtown at the riverfront, and I think Mayor Dean was the mayor. And once again, you presented transit in such a way to allow for us to take these electric buses and progress in our transit journey. So I just want to say thank you. And whenever I know that you are there, I know that excellence is there. And I also know that it is a sign of great progress for transit in Nashville. So I want to thank you for what you always do. And you do it quietly and you do it humbly, but you do it so well. So thank you. You do. Also, I want to thank our staff members today. I have watched all of you take care of the APAC members today as they have come in. You've nurtured them, you've listened to them, and it's been great to sort of watch how you have been a part of the community to make certain that transit works for all citizens of Nashville. So I just want you to know I saw you today. I watched you today. I saw a few of you down when I was down at Music City at Elizabeth Duff Center yesterday. And I just appreciate seeing that kindness and that care. So I appreciate how you all did that today. And we had a tough week. We did. But I think we rallied, as we always do, as family, with care, with concern, with kindness, and with humility. And we also recommitted ourselves to be better. We recommitted ourselves to take better care of our city, to take better care of our citizens, and to take better care of one another. And we will continue to do that. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here and say that to you. And on all of that, we get to celebrate. We get to celebrate somebody who has just been an amazing gift. Not only to MTA, but you've been a gift to me, Ed. We've sort of been here on this 20-year journey together. And we've sort of been partners in growing this agency for our city. And I know I joke you about UT all the time, and I'm always going to joke you about UT. And we beat you yesterday, just so you know. Even though y'all were talking a whole lot of crap. But I sort of kind of feel a little bad till you call me old today. And but the thing about it, it's been a part of the friendship that we've enjoyed. And you have been so great for our city, for MTA. And I'm going to miss you. Like, I'm really, not just because of the bantering, but because of the friendship. We've enjoyed a lot of friendship. We've enjoyed a lot of family things together. We have. So, oh, but that's so cute. I don't always laugh out loud when Vanderbilt beats you.
Yes. I truly appreciate that
But
meme,
it is
yes.
pretty funny. So whoever came up with that meme, I love it. But Ed, to you, and I think I'm gonna sort of punt over to Steve to talk a little bit more about you. And I know we have 3 minutes before we got to get out of here, but I just got to show you the right kind of love before you walk away. So Steve, do you have anything else to add?
I can't say anything more eloquent than you did, Gail. We had a nice going away event, and thank you to all the board members who came out for Ed's party over at Myatt. We had retirees. It was like the Ed Oliphant fan club. We have parting gifts. I'd love to spend the time. We get a picture with everyone with Ed and his parting gifts. Please make sure. So Denise Nicolosi, I don't think Denise is here.
No, she's not. The sign's up there.
But her specialty now, you may remember when Walt Searcy went off the board, we presented him with a specialized sign. So it's really kind of becoming a hallmark of folks who are moving on to new phases in their life. On this one, please make sure you check out the QR code. As you know, our new signs have QR codes. You can get schedule information and fare information. This one has a very special message that I think you should pay attention to.
Which you see on the screen.
Ed, nothing but thanks. I've only had half the time with you that Gail has, but it's been amazing. And of all the things that keep me awake at night, frankly, timely, accurate financial statements and clean audits are not one of them. I have been in environments where they did keep me awake at night, and it is no fun at all. So thank you very much.
I don't really. We've got a daughter in Nashville, so we will be doing those kinds of things for the next several years. And I don't have any qualms about leaving. I think this company's in good shape. And as I said at the RTA meeting, that I was always raised that you try to leave something better when you leave than when you got it. And I think we accomplished that mission very well. But I couldn't have done it without the staff that I have. They're a truly amazing staff, and then the support of the rest of the company. I will miss it, but you will endure.
But you'll be okay.
Thank you all.
I'll miss you, Ed. All right, anybody else have anything else for the good of the day? I got 30 more seconds before I have to adjourn, right? 30 seconds and I'm getting ready to hit it. So with that, we'll take a nice picture with Ed up here and we will adjourn. Thank you all for a wonderful meeting.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.